I'm probably going to skip through mine a little quicker just because we seem to be covering a lot of similar ground this afternoon. So probably one of the things that, or a lot of the stuff that we're coming across as issues, and I'm seeing it in a lot of slides today, is all kinds of different data sets, all kinds of different import-export processes, issues around version control, revision tracking. You guys have to take on all these multiple tool sets. You've got to build up multiple skill sets for all kinds of products. We're getting better collaboration, but a lack of actual integration. Some of you are having to use BIM authoring tools when you really just want to actually consume the information. The construction benefits that we're seeing out there are somewhat stuck in the clash detection world, unless a construction company actually has someone who's kind of leading the way out of that. And there's a lot of data going into models that actually should remain in databases where it can actually be managed properly and then linked back to models. And we're seeing, just thousands of models being created that just are not ready for construction and not ready for facilities management, and all kinds of similar issues on the technical side. But some of the bigger challenges are that owners, operators, clients, construction companies quite frequently are just not aware of really what the actual benefits are that they can get out of that, and the technology hype's really actually exceeding the reality of what people can get. So there's some things, there's some ways that's being addressed by various software companies. In the Autodesk world, they're addressing it through their BIM 360 initiative, which is kind of a little bit more of an initiative than an actual product at this point. It's kind of a series of different tools that they're kind of pulling together. So you get your tools like your clash detection and coordination and collaboration through the Navisworks side, and the technology that Autodesk have recently acquired that pulls Navisworks more into the cloud environment. The cloud-based conceptual design and feasibility evaluations, the field management, commissioning and handover tools that they've just bought just recently, and then all the simulation and visualization tools that are actually running out in the cloud. So those things are starting to get a lot easier from the desktop. You would have seen just recently Autodesk acquired a company called Vale Systems, which is field management software for construction, aimed at a particular area. So it's got mobile technologies, it's got some great project reporting for managing field performance, it's got commissioning and handover workflows, and online tools to track the status of systems and equipment, barcoding of systems, and equipment for field access, and leveraging that coordinated BIM for commissioning and handover. So there's some really specific tool sets there in that world. Something I did want to highlight to you today that is also relevant, although not actually aimed at the same industry, is Autodesk have also released a cloud-based PLM solution. Now, we're talking about BIM here and all this information management. A lot of the time, like, it's actually new, but the manufacturing industry has been working through managing their products from conception right through to service and disposal, probably since, I think, the early 80s. The product lifecycle management systems came out. And what we're trying to actually do in the BIM world is kind of just emulate what they've already done many times over. So it is worth, if you're not familiar with it, it is worth going to the Autodesk site on PLM 360 and just having a look around at the kind of things that they do there. We're seeing it already. It's not actually released here in Australia until, I think, September, October, but we're seeing already some people on the trials that aren't from the manufacturing industry use it. I know my tech guys have actually even been using it to manage their demo reports that they have to do for me, and just to test it themselves. And we've got a whole ecosystem ourselves in KarelCAD running off the manufacturing PLM system just to do some simple workflows of our own. So it's worth getting in there and having a look. So something I saw just recently, or relatively recently in its final form, got me fairly excited. And the things that go in your mind all the time are, this whole exporting process is cumbersome. What if your models could just be synced up and you don't actually have to do anything about actually keeping that all aligned? What if you actually didn't need the authoring tool on the FM or construction side? What if you could handle massive data sets in the one project? It had the document archiving linked to models within it. You could actually track actual equipment in the field back to the model and the documents, and have all those other navigation and visualization tools built into the one tool set, so that anyone who needed to consume that data could get to it at any time, just through a simple internet connection. So the technology that I saw that actually achieves that is a product called Vayo. It's created by a company called M6 out of Portland, Oregon. And it's essentially a groundbreaking collaborative solution for operation, management, construction and design of buildings. It just goes that next step beyond. So all of the above. So series of, it's not modularized, but the various modules that they refer to within it. There's a module called Vayo Archive, which is a model linked document library. So grab a document, drop it onto a piece of the model, that document's forever connected to that piece of equipment or whatever it is in the model. A tool called Vale Track, so an asset tracking tool, so barcoding a piece of equipment and that barcode being connected back to that right piece of equipment and associated documents within the project. A tool called Pulse, which does real-time sensor data monitoring direct into BACnet. Vayo Time, which is actually scheduling and sequencing. And Vayo Logic, which is the coordination and collaboration side. And then Lux, which is the navigation and visualization. So they've built all these tools into the one set. So the guy who's done it is a guy called Max Reisenhuber. He's an interesting guy to meet. He's actually a musician. He's been a producer of music. He's worked with all kinds of famous musicians, just about anyone you could name. And he got very frustrated with the music industry and decided that he was going to build his own software-based system and essentially built a 3D mixing system for the music industry, and was really successful with that, and having to deal with the massive data sets that he had to in the music industry. And later on got caught up in the financial world and developed a system for the World Bank, or worked on a system for the World Bank called Wolf, which is actually a system that runs Lehman Brothers, the World Bank, Bear Stearns, all those guys. So, and obviously in that world they had to deal with really massive data sets and deal with things in millisecond type timeframes, not tens of seconds or hours. Milliseconds can make the difference between millions of dollars going the wrong way for someone. So essentially he ended up in a similar situation to what seems to happen in the software industry all the time. He was doing a construction project, a design project of his own, and he just couldn't stand how bad the process was between the architect and the builder that he was working with. So he decided to apply his skills in programming back in to try and solve a problem essentially for you guys. The other guy who's caught up in this as their Chief Strategy Officer is a guy called Phil Reed, who I know a number of you know. Phil comes out here quite often for the Revit Technology conferences. He was one of the original team from Revit that were there when Autodesk acquired Revit, the Revit Corporation. He moved on to a company called HNTB and then has subsequently left and gotten caught up in this M6 area. Phil's the kind of guy who he just wants to get out and solve big problems, and he's not interested in the money side. He just wants to solve big problems. So we've got two really interesting guys, very caught up in the forefront of this product. So what I wanted to do, I actually wanted to show you a live presentation, but the product's actually not released for a couple of months yet, so the guys weren't too keen for me to do that. So unfortunately, I've got to show you some videos to get us through it. But they're relatively short, a couple of minutes each, 2 or 3 minutes each. So I'll play the first one. It just gives you a general overview of the system.
The Vale platform provides a suite of integrated apps that will transform the way teams collaborate to design, construct, and operate buildings and infrastructure. After creating successful cloud-based systems in other industries, long before the term cloud was used, the M6 team recognized an urgent need. We believed a completely new approach to data management, messaging, and collaboration would be required to support true building lifecycle management. After more than 4 years and tens of thousands of man-hours, the Vale platform is readying for launch. One way to get a sense of its power is to watch this brief overview of the first wave of Vale apps.
Can you tell he's a muso?
Since virtually everything Vale does involves visualization, we'll start with our real-time 3D engine, Lux. Lux has cloud collaboration and support for huge data sets in its DNA. It will gracefully handle projects linking hundreds of Revit and AutoCAD files, and will soon support other design formats as well. In addition to the cross-platform real-time 3D engine, Lux makes it simple to render computationally expensive images in the cloud. Whether it's complete or still cooking, every image has a web address, so it can be viewed from any web browser or linked in an email. For tasks that require more control, Vale offers a different kind of link. For users with the Mac or Windows version of Vale installed, a single click can load a particular project revision and set up every single setting needed to recreate an image in Lux or perform some other task in one of the other Vale apps. We also wanted to be able to use these images to interact with Vale. So to further blur the distinction between real-time and offline graphics, Lux makes it possible to select objects in either, and the selection is maintained consistently across views. Another feature of the Lux real-time engine that we wanted to be able to use with renders is the Frame Selected Objects command. With IntelliPixel, I can select an object in a rendered image and seamlessly zoom to it in the real-time engine. With Lux, rendered images are much more than just pretty pictures. Time is Veo's construction sequencing app. The sequences can be created manually by applying custom rules based on object type and context, or via our bidirectional link with Microsoft Project and Oracle Primavera P6. Time provides simple drag-and-drop editing of nested sequences, task duration, and animation styles. Like all data in Veo, as soon as a new sequence is published, it automatically syncs across the team without requiring manual import-export steps. Logic is Veo's app for design coordination and validation. Logic makes it simple to create custom rules and share them with the rest of your team, and it has great tools to isolate issues hidden in dense building models. While designing Veo, we've been giving as much thought to the anthropology as the technology, and that's especially true of Logic. Design coordination meetings often waste an enormous amount of time trying to determine exactly what has changed since the last meeting. With Logic, you always know who changed what, when, and why. And Veo's integration with enterprise social networks makes it simple to capture reports with embedded links and assign issues to groups or individuals according to your project's policies and best practices. Archive is the Veo app that provides a spatially linked digital document library. Documents are added to the library via drag and drop or bulk import. Like all the Veo apps, as soon as any team member shares information, it immediately begins syncing with the rest of the project team. Drag and drop is also used to associate documents with specific pieces of equipment or with categories of objects. We think a big part of the appeal of our integrated platform approach is that the different apps can combine in unexpected ways to solve problems. Here's an example teaming Archive and Lux for use in operations and maintenance. The fine detail provided by Lux's cloud renders make it easier to navigate and understand the densely packed systems in the subcellar of this building. As I click on equipment, I can see the relevant operating manuals, warranties, parts lists and repair history, and many other document types. Pulse is the Veo app that integrates with sensors and building management systems. Pulse allows real-time and historical sensor data to be visualized and spatially linked to the final as-built model. With a single click, the workspace can be configured with the appropriate data layers, charts, and camera position needed to understand a particular aspect of the building's performance. In this example, clicking on a room volume highlights temperature values for that room. Clicking on a sensor data source zooms the camera to the associated model object. Pulse will also display alarms reported by BACnet sensors. For example, if this standby exhaust fan signals that a motor self-test has failed, facilities management personnel can easily find related documents in Veo Archive. In the office or in the field with a tablet, it will be simple to refer to startup instructions, maintenance procedures, repair history, warranty documents, and so on. Here's a preview of the latest Veo app. It's called Track, and it's a simple but powerful tool to track the location and status of materials and equipment during and after construction. With each scan, a message is sent to the cloud database and is then published in real time to any users logged in with appropriate permissions. After construction is complete, Veo Track is an amazing operations and maintenance tool. Simply scan a barcode on a piece of equipment, and Veo will display all the relevant documents stored in Veo Archive. When paired with our upcoming iPad app, this will be an incredibly useful way to access operating manuals, parts lists, warranties, maintenance procedures, service histories, inspection photos, and virtually any other kind of digital document. Veo provides the right information when and where you need it most.
What do you think? Pretty average, hey? Okay, I'll show you a little bit more detail on just a couple of the modules rather than sit here and watch videos all afternoon. And when we get to the end, I'll point you to a link where you can watch them yourself.
In one way or another. So we spent an enormous amount of time and effort to create Lux, our real-time and offline visualization solution. Lux was designed with cloud collaboration in its DNA, and it supports truly huge data sets, like this model of a new international air terminal currently in construction. It consists of hundreds of Revit and AutoCAD models linked into an integrated environment for decision-making and visual communication. Lux has great tools to focus on the data you care about for a given task, but sometimes there's no substitute for interacting with a ton of data simultaneously. The frame rate is getting pretty chunky here, but still impressive considering this is well over 10 gigabytes of data, and with each new version, Veo is improving performance for truly huge projects like this one. In addition to the real-time 3D engine running on the graphics card of your Mac or Windows machine, Lux offers cloud rendering for computationally expensive images that take minutes or hours to complete. To specify how the render should look, simply drag visual styles onto the objects in the model. Lux will show a preview of how that visual style will look once it's rendered. If you drag a style to a tag representing a class of objects instead of one specific object, you create style sets that can be reused across revisions as the project evolves and can easily be shared for use on different projects. It's just as simple to specify other render attributes like camera position, image quality, maximum render time, exposure settings, as well as time of day and latitude-longitude for the simulated sky. When you send your render request, one or more cloud servers go to work on your image, and you can have as many renders as you like processing in parallel. Using 8 server CPUs, this high-resolution image took several hours to reach this level of quality. If I needed this image faster, I could have given this render job more CPUs. Whether it's complete or still cooking, every image has a web address, so it can be viewed from any web browser or linked in an email. For tasks that require more control, Veo offers a different kind of link. For users with the Mac or Windows version of Veo installed, a single click can load a particular project revision and set up every single setting needed to recreate an image in Lux or perform some other task in one of the other Veo apps. These computationally expensive images are great at communicating subtle details, and because all the work was performed in the cloud, I was free to focus on other tasks while they rendered. However, switching from image to image is momentarily distracting while my brain takes a few milliseconds to get spatially oriented. Our real-time 3D engine avoids this by smoothly interpolating the frames between camera bookmarks, so we thought it would be cool to do the same thing with cloud renders. We worked on this quite a bit and were really pleased with the result, which we call IntelliPixel. With this feature enabled, when I click a rendered image tab, instead of just switching to the image, Lux sets up the real-time 3D engine to match the starting image and smoothly interpolates the camera motion to the destination image. We also wanted to be able to use these images to interact with Veo. So to further blur the distinction between real-time and offline graphics, Lux makes it possible to select objects in either, and the selection is maintained consistently across views. The same mouse gestures that pan, zoom, and rotate will seamlessly switch to the real-time 3D engine and work as expected. Another feature of the Lux real-time engine that we wanted to be able to use with renders is the Frame Selected Objects command. With IntelliPixel, I can select an object in a rendered image and seamlessly zoom to it in the real-time engine. With Lux, rendered images are much more than pretty pictures. In addition to being a persuasive way to communicate ideas, these images can be used for navigation and other kinds of interaction. When you explore the rest of the Veo platform, you'll see that most of the other apps take advantage of this powerful feature.
So you thought there are a lot of rendered images now that you guys have had Revit. Wait till you get this. Lots of rendered ductwork, eh? I can see Brett chomping at the bit. This next module is just a little bit more detailed look at the asset, the Vale Track, which is the barcode connection.
Here's a preview of the latest Veo app. It's called Track, and it's a simple but powerful tool to track the location and status of materials and equipment during and after construction. Like the rest of the Veo platform, Track is designed to provide access to information when and where it's needed most. Veo Track can generate barcodes for any selected object and can associate objects with barcodes from external systems as well. In this example, we have 3 Veo clients set up to subscribe to messages from Veo Track and display equipment status in real time as it's updated in the field from mobile devices such as iPhone, iPad, or Droid. In this first example, we're illustrating how someone in the field can scan materials and equipment to indicate a change in status, such as arrival at the job site or successful installation. With each scan, a message is sent to the cloud database and is then published in real time to any users logged in with appropriate permissions. It's simple to provide additional information in the field and set up a color-coded view to emphasize conditions that need attention, such as equipment arriving damaged or systems that are overdue for inspection. Just like the rest of the Veo apps, Veo Track automatically shares new information with the appropriate users without requiring email attachments, FTP sites, or any of the other primitive data sharing technologies that make it difficult to be sure you have complete and up-to-date information. It's great to have access to all the design and fabrication models for a project, but that represents an enormous amount of data. Veo makes it easy to create a kind of bookmark that sets up everything needed to perform a particular task. Scan a barcode and Veo can automatically position the camera and enable the appropriate data layers, from low-level detail room volumes to intricately detailed as-built models. If they weren't already loaded, Veo will bring in any needed model items or documents. After construction is complete, Veo Track is an amazing operations and maintenance tool. Simply scan a barcode on a piece of equipment, and Veo will display all the relevant documents stored in Veo Archive. When paired with our upcoming iPad app, this will be an incredibly useful way to access operating manuals, parts lists, warranties, maintenance procedures, service histories, inspection photos, and virtually any other kind of digital document. Veo provides the right information when and where you need it most. Thank you for sharing a few minutes of your time. We hope.
Oops. So last one I won't take you through much more. This one I thought was particularly relevant, being connected into real-time sensor data.
Pulse is the Veo app that integrates with sensors and building management systems. Pulse allows real-time and historical sensor data to be visualized and spatially linked to the final as-built model. Using a building automation standard called BACnet, Pulse can scan the devices installed in the building and collect metadata describing their capabilities and data types. Veo's plugin for Excel is used for initial setup, such as specifying how frequently readings should be sent to the central database. In this particular building, there are nearly 15,000 available data sources. The sorting and filtering tools in Excel make it easier to find data sources and assign them to polling groups. Once configured, a small, ruggedized appliance located on site will read temperature, energy usage, occupancy, and many other sensor types, and report values in real time to the Pulse server. The Pulse app makes it simple to use saved charts, or create new ones by dragging data sources onto empty charts. It's easy to specify time ranges, and the level of detail adjusts automatically. Clicking on objects in the model highlights associated sensor data. Presets can set up Pulse to monitor a particular system and zone. With a single click, the workspace can be configured with the appropriate data layers, charts, and camera position needed to understand a particular aspect of the building's performance. In this example, clicking on a room volume highlights temperature values for that room. Clicking on a sensor data source zooms the camera to the associated model object. As Pulse evolves, we will make it easier and easier to compare expected versus actual performance, to discover anomalies that need attention, and to suggest adjustments to optimize system performance. In addition to monitoring sensor data, Pulse can report exceptional conditions. Alarms can be configured to highlight objects in the model when a piece of equipment signals an error state, or a sensor value goes out of tolerance. For example, if this standby exhaust fan signals that a motor self-test has failed, facilities management personnel can easily find related documents in Veo Archive. In the office or in the field with a tablet, it will be simple to refer to startup instructions, maintenance procedures, repair history, warranty documents, and so on. Pulse provides a powerful but simple link between building sensors and the final as-built model. The tight integration with Archive and the rest of the Veo platform illustrates how effective it is to have the information you need when and where you need it most.
Alright, so thanks for just sitting through the videos. I promise you next time we show it, we'll show you the real deal, so you can actually see it live. I've never liked showing videos of product. So, for those of you who know me, you know I like doing a bit of a demo. So, I have actually seen this running in the real world. I was recently on a very large multi-billion-dollar project. Essentially, the BIM manager for the construction company on that project implemented fairly early that the subcontractors were going to have to provide the as-built models. They all objected, and then he pointed them to the page in the contract that they all signed that said that they were going to provide them. So apparently they fairly quickly changed their minds. Basically, the arrangement that he has in place is the subcontractors provide a BIM model to him or to his team. That model gets coordinated into the system. Once the work is done, the subcontractor provides an as-built model. In some cases, he's actually had the subcontractors using SketchUp, so the brickies and the concreters, for example, that don't really have any modelling skills. He's actually had those guys working in SketchUp and providing the models that way. And then for the more detailed areas, not the entire building, but for critical areas, they're then doing a laser survey, linking that laser survey back into the as-built model, and then doing the comparison to make sure that the as-built they provided is actually what they constructed. So that's the way that's working in that project. The reason that in this case that the client spent the extra money for them to do this is that they're actually going to package up those as-built models with the archive functionality, so that they get the warranty and operating manuals for the main equipment, all packaged up as one product that they can access. The other example that he showed me was they had they have issues with obviously circuit breakers going in the building. It can take their maintenance guys 2 to 3 hours to find the right circuit breaker to turn back on, and he was able to show me in their system how he could just click on the light in the system and it would instantly show him which circuit breaker. He could send the maintenance crew to that circuit breaker within minutes, turn it back on, and away they go. So 2 sort of key issues that they've addressed just with locating equipment that has a problem, and with that archive functionality. Something that has just happened in the last 24 hours is that they've actually done an agreement with Newformer. So I assume some of you are working with Newformer in here. So project information modelling meets BIM, I guess. So essentially VAO will be built into the back end of Newformer as the engine for driving the modelling side. Okay, so thanks very much for your time. I think this is a really major leap forward in the ease of actually setting up for BIM in construction and FM, and it's coming very, very soon, in single-digit weeks till we can show it to you now. So thanks very much.